This is St. Louis Cardinals baseball. And tonight from Miller Park in Milwaukee, a weekend series kicks off between the St. Louis Cardinals and the Milwaukee Brewers. The Cardinals own a 6-game lead over Pittsburgh. They are hooked up against Clayton Kershaw and the Dodgers, trailing early on. We'll keep you updated with that game all night long. And along with Jim Hayes and Rick Horton, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Delighted to have you with us for St. Louis Cardinals baseball. The Cardinals 30 games above the 500 mark. And Rick, you think about it, this team has done it with all kinds of injuries this year.
Really been a magical season. They're just not doing it. They're doing it big time. 30 games over 500, as you said, after losing Adam Wainwright in April. And they're losing players month by month, including Walden in April, and then 3 bats, Adams, Jay, and Holiday. But still finding ways to win. It's been a terrific season through the first 2/3 of the year.
Lance Lynn will get the call tonight, the big righty for St. Louis. Tyler Cravey will go for the Milwaukee Brewers. Brewers, Cardinals, next on Fox Sports Midwest.
ballpark at home. Far and away the most home runs allowed at home with 85. So with the Cardinals in town, who are the most likely candidates to go deep? Johnny Peralta's hit well in this ballpark, 8 home runs in 19 games, and he leads the Cardinals with 16. One of the hottest Cardinals is Matt Carpenter. He has found his long ball swing, 5 home runs in his last 8 games. Then there's Randall Grichuk, the raw power of the young Cardinals center fielder. He has 6 home runs since the All-Star break. It's a rainy day in Milwaukee, but we're inside. Cardinal baseball is coming up next.
...2012, 41-21 against the Milwaukee Brewers, a team that he played for. And right now his club is at a season-high 30 games above the 500 mark. So Matt Carpenter will dig in against Tyler Cravey, and we're underway with the ball. We saw this right-hander recalled from AAA on Wednesday to replace the struggling Kyle Loesch. He made his Major League debut against the Cardinals back on June 2nd. 1 run on 4 hits and a 1-0 loss.
He pitched against Lance Lynn that day and was very, very good. The Cardinals had very little film on him. He'd been a Double-A All-Star the year before. He's really kind of blooming late. 6 minor league seasons, and he's finally getting a chance at the big league level.
Here's a 2-0 pitch. Matt Carpenter is batting .357 from the leadoff spot. Any other place in the lineup, .223. Over half his hits have come with 2 strikes. And we wondered at the end of last year, would the postseason power carry over to what we see in the regular season in 2015? And the answer is yes. He's now up to 15 home runs. The 2-2. And a strikeout of Carpenter.
Cardinals hoping for some offense here in Milwaukee. They were able to win 2 out of 3 games down in Cincinnati, despite only having 11 hits in those 2 games that they won, including a 13-inning game. So that's 11 hits in 22 innings, but won 2 straight games.
So here is Colton Wong. He's hitting .268, 11 home runs. He's driven in 46, and he takes strike 1. So the Cardinals against the Reds hit .183. The Reds, though, .176. Really, that's kind of the example of the entire season. Team hasn't hit all that well, but they've pitched incredibly well. That's popped foul out of play.
Kind of a hard offense to explain, too. You look at Derek Lilliquist, the pitching coach. Certainly he's happy with what his guys have done. But on the offensive side, you've got a lot of guys, Dan, hitting .285, having decent seasons, but kind of the sum is not greater than the parts for some reason.
Little tapper that Gravy gets to and throws wide. Infield hit for Colton Wong. Not sure you can tell from the reaction of the crowd at home through your television set, but this is a crowd that features an awful lot of Cardinal fans as you get a look at the Hyundai pitch arsenal.
And that's what Gravy features. A four-seamer, sinker, changeup, and an off-balance throw. Not in time to get the speedy Wong.
Wong has 11 steals, and now it's Johnny Peralta. Loves hitting at this ballpark. .460 average at Miller Park, with 12 driven in and 6 home runs. For Gravy, his only other start was back on July 7th. That was against the Atlanta Braves. 4 runs over 6 innings and a 4-3 loss. And an 0-1 pitch to Peralta. Milwaukee calling the balls and strikes tonight. John Tumpain at first base. John Hirschbeck, your crew chief, at second. Angel Hernandez, we see him all spring at third base. And a check on Wong, back in safely.
Jonathan Lucroy has caught 31% of the runners attempting to steal. The Cardinals, well, they're kind of average when it comes to stolen bases. They run just as much as the Brewers do, but they pick their spots. They've been pretty successful, especially Jason Hayward.
18 stolen bases for Hayward as Wong is running. Throw to second, and they got it. Strong throw by Lucroy. Wong caught for the 8th time.
Jonathan Lucroy, back from the disabled list, really is the heart and soul of this Brewers team. And gets it done defensively here. Perfect throw right on the money to get Colton. But he is really, again, the Brewers would say their backbone.
A look at Craig Counsell trying to deal with the trades and the injuries they've had throughout the year. As Peralta's late with that swing. So 2 strikeouts and a caught stealing. Brewers coming up in the home half of the first. Baseball is brought to you by Budweiser. Make a plan to make it home. Save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs. And visit your local Mid-America Chevy dealers for great prices on our all-new 2015 vehicles today. Some of the Cardinal fans have shifted from Cincinnati to Milwaukee. Nice crowd on this Friday night. As we take a look at the Brewers lineup under Craig Counsell, Scooter Gennett will lead it off. Then Jonathan Lucroy and Ryan Braun here in the first inning. Adam Lind, Chris Davis, Shane Peterson, former Cardinal farmhand, Gene Segura, Elian Herrera, the switch hitting third baseman, and Tyler Cravey, the pitcher, batting ninth.
Take a look at their bench. Schaefer, Maldonado, Perez, and Rogers. This offense is not the same without Carlos Gomez. Lucroy may be the backbone of this team, but in many ways Gomez was the energy and the heart of this team.
And to further your point, Rick, you think about Aramis Ramirez and the great years that he had against St. Louis. He's now with Pittsburgh. We'll see him next week. Parra has gone to Baltimore. Very good outfielder. 1 ball, 1 strike.
But they got a lot of good young prospects in return for these deals. In fact, they've got a number of prospects specifically from the Astros where they sent Carlos Gomez. So I think 2 years down the road, you may be saying that was a terrific deal for the Brewers.
Craig Counsell is under a 3-year contract as that slap foul, so he's here for the long term. It was in their front office and knows all about their minor leagues. His dad worked here in Milwaukee. He grew up in Milwaukee, and his dad worked for the Brewers. Used to come to the old ballpark. And now the manager here with the Milwaukee Brewers. As Scooter Gennett grounds out to Colton Wong. Nothing fancy when you talk about the Hyundai pitch arsenal of Lance Lynn.
Well, we've seen him pitch enough to know that he is mostly fastballs. 83.5% fastballs when you combine the 4-seamer and the sinker, and you throw the cutter in there and it's even higher. Occasionally he'll throw the curveball and the changeup, but he's fastball up, fastball down, and was not very good in his last outing, Dan, but he's got an extra day rest, and that usually is good news for Lance Lynn.
8th career start here at this ballpark as Jonathan Lucroy digs in. Lynn against the Brewers this year, 7 2/3 scoreless back on June 2nd. Then April 26th, gave up 6 runs in 5 innings, his worst start of the year here against the Milwaukee Brewers. One ball, 1 strike on Jonathan Lucroy. Missed about 6 weeks with a broken toe. Got off to a horrendous start. Had a great spring training, too. They thought this would be the year that maybe he'd be in the running for the MVP. That's how well he hit in spring, coming off a solid year a season ago. And he's picked it up lately, hitting .300 this month. It's Peralta, the long throw, and a nice pick by Brandon Moss. Dom's Tire and Auto Centers, Piscotty, Grichuk, and Hayward in the outfield. Carpenter, Peralta, Wong, and Moss. Then Yadier Molina behind the plate.
Nice play by Moss on the receiving end of this throw from Johnny Peralta. Is normally right on the money, a little bit low there. Moss has shown good hands, soft hands at first base.
And it brings in Ryan Braun. You know the amazing thing about that at the end of that play, Rick? They had not even gone around the horn with the baseball, and Lance Lynn had a new baseball because the throw hit the dirt. They threw it out. It's incredible how many baseballs these teams go through night in and night out.
Pitchers wouldn't mind having a little scuff on it here or there because you're supposed to know what to do with that, but they never get the chance anymore.
Amazing.
It was interesting, Dan. We learned earlier this season that the that one of the most horrific thing that's ever happened on a baseball field when Chapman was hit in early 1900s. The shortstop, I believe he was with the Cubs at the time, got hit in the dark, and that year they outlawed only having a few baseballs. If the ball got dirty towards the end of the game, they'd take it out, and they also outlawed the spitball because they thought that was kind of setting up a lot of guys getting hit. Now, they didn't have helmets then, sure, but he was the one player on the field that got hit and eventually died. And players certainly like to hit those pearls.
They're harder. You know, you get a ground ball, and if you ever pick up a major league ball, which you have countless times, but you pick up a ball after it's been hit, and a lot of times it does soften just a bit.
And I also think there's a difference between picking up the spin that you see from the seams on a ball that's kind of pristine white versus scuffed. And so you're going to be able to tell slider, fastball quicker, I believe, with a ball like that. Now, the pitcher wants to make sure it's not so kind of shiny that the ball will take off in ways you don't want it to go. And we saw that with John Smoltz one day in Cincinnati, and others because they felt that Cincinnati wasn't rubbing up the ball well enough.
That was the night that he would get the ball back from the umpire, literally just look at it, feel it, throw it right out multiple times. And they talked about how slick the balls were that night. And then John Lackey had an issue with that too in Cincinnati. And it brought to the forefront what a lot of pitchers were thinking over the years when they go to Cincinnati. Sometimes the balls just aren't rubbed up properly. Here's Ryan Braun, 2 balls, 2 strikes, 1 home run shy of 250 in his career. Goes the other way with a base hit into right field.
Braun certainly has had power in his career, but he's also found ways to get on base. He expands his zone there, takes the ball the other way, and he's not just been a power hitter in his career. He's a very talented guy. There's no question about it. Perhaps a lightning rod of controversy, but a very good player.
Adam Lind, 6-game hitting streak. He's 11 for his last 23. 289, 16 home runs, 64 driven in. A lot of teams had interest in this bat. The deal that has worked out well for Milwaukee came over from Toronto for Marco Estrada. Very short lead at first by Ryan Braun, who has 16 steals this year. (16 steals). He's been caught twice. Big gap in right center field. The 2-0 pitch. 3-0. Well, it's hard to imagine a year ago the Brewers spent 133 days in first place and the Cardinals just 33. And the Brewers do not make the playoffs, and the Cardinals fall in the National League Championship Series. Two on, 2 out for Chris Davis. Let's turn to Rick Horton's Toyota keys to the game.
A couple of keys here tonight involving the starting pitchers. Lance Lynn needs a bounce-back start, which you really expect from him. He wasn't sharp his last time out, but very rarely does he pitch poorly a couple games in a row. And the adjustments against Cravey, the Cardinals have now seen him once. They did not hit him in that game on the 2nd of June. And again, Lance Lynn, the starter that day too. But they ought to know a little bit more now than they did on that particular day.
Yesterday for Milwaukee, a 10-1 win over San Diego to complete a 3-game sweep. Chris Davis, 2 home runs, 6 RBIs in the 10-1 win. A pair of 3-run homers and his first long ball since July 18th. 1 ball, 1 strike. As a matter of fact, Davis is now one of the hottest hitters in this lineup. The past 3 games, he's 6 for 12, 8 RBIs. And the 1-1 pitch from Lance Lynn.
Guy hits 2 3-run home runs one day, and his first at bat the next day is with 2 runners aboard. That doesn't have a very good feel to it.
No. Milwaukee had dropped 9 of 10. And then San Diego came to town and they swept the Padres, who didn't do very much at the trade deadline. You thought they may be one of the most active teams in the game, and they're pretty quiet. 1-2 pitch, and he got him. Strikeout for Lynn, his first of the night. The Brewers strain 2. We head to the top of the second. No score from Miller Park. Field. Herrera, Segura, Jeanette, and Lind along the infield. Lucroy is behind the plate. There's a look at Tyler Cravey. Struck out 2 in the first inning, in the defense presented by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. Jason Hayward was 1 for 8 in the Cincinnati series, but 2 steals yesterday. Couple runs scored. He's 2 away in terms of stolen bases from his third 20-steal season. 18 steals, that's 8th best in the National League.
Really trending upward, too, with what he's doing with the bat. Getting his share of kind of inside-out hits the other way, too.
And this is hit out to deep right center field. Peterson back near the track and puts it away.
I prefer that to the inside-out swing, frankly.
Yeah. Well, to further your point, though, I was watching him in batting practice. I'd say every 8 out of 10 swings were up the middle or to left. He was, was designed to go the other way.
I heard from scouts in spring training. We had a lot of people talking about Jason Hayward just to try to understand what kind of player he was. And many said that was his best area, left center, that he was going to drive the ball there. And when they tried to make him a power hitter and start yanking, the strikeouts went up. And then when he became kind of an on-base percentage guy, let's walk more, then he became a little too defensive. Better off driving the ball to left center field. That seems to be his best foot forward.
40 extra base hits for Randal Grichuk to lead all rookies in all of baseball. The last Cardinal rookie with at least 40 extra base hits, Colby Rasmus, back in 2009. Popped up. Second baseman Jeanette. 2 down. In steps Yadier Molina.
Grichuk had a rough day in the cleanup spot in the final game in Cincinnati. Struck out 3 times. He's going to have days like that, but never count him out.
No. And a strike to Molina. Cravey, by the way, gets the start tonight in place of Kyle Loesch, who goes to the bullpen for Milwaukee. And Kyle has had a real tough year. Began this season as their #1 in their rotation. He's 5-13, ERA of just about 6.5, and at home his ERA is over 8.
They've tried to figure things out with him. They actually tried to showcase him some a little to see if a team might pick him up, and he just kind of couldn't find his groove. And as Counsell said in the paper today here in Milwaukee, he's a guy that's a pitch maker that wasn't making pitches.
They talk about Craig Counsell being very blunt in his assessment of players, and if you're not putting out max effort, you will get pulled out of games. Where Ron Renneke had a little bit of a softer side. Not to say that one is better than the other, but that's the way that he goes about his business.
Well, blunt is good, and being blunt about Counsell. If that guy went to the fair, Dan, you know that thing at the fair where they guess your age and you can win money? How much money would he win? If that guy went to the fair and he said, "Hey, how old do you think I am?"
28, 32.
Well, not even close. Here you go. Here's your Cupid doll.
Thank you.
44.
Thanks for my doll. 3-2 is a fair ball inside the left field line, and Molina will head to second base with a 2-out double.
You were right on about the number of Cardinal fans here at the ballpark, and if the Cardinals can get something going offensively here tonight, we'll hear more from them. Pitch off the plate in. Yachty turns on it. It hits the ball down the line with authority. Nice to see Yachty do that.
We talked about it. Brandon Moss was leading Cleveland with 15 home runs. But he was picked up by St. Louis and still looking for that elusive first Cardinal home run. Currently 3 for 22 wearing the Cardinal uniform with an RBI. Mike Shannon on a pregame show said as he's watching him, thinks he's pressing just a bit.
Yeah. Well, you start to squeeze the bat a little, you get a little tight. I know he's happy to be a Cardinal. And he is going to strike out a few times. I mean, you look at his numbers, and he's a little bit like a left-handed Mark Reynolds. And like Reynolds, plays first base, and he plays the outfield. Reynolds can play third and really anywhere, but Moss certainly has home run potential.
Speaking of first base, it wouldn't surprise me at all if we see Matt Adams before this season is through. Wouldn't that be something?
It'd be terrific.
But there's a big difference, as you know, from game action just to what you're doing on the side. So time will tell. Here's a 2-1 pitch. Stephen Piscotty is on deck. 3-1 the count. And it's a walk to Moss. First walk issued by Tyler Cravey. Is part of this conversation right here about who's on deck, even though you're at your 8th place hitter? Do you want to deal with Piscotty, or you're saying, hey, pitch carefully because you got Lance Lynn on deck?
It could be. I'd rather have him, if I was the Brewers manager, pitch to Piscotty and not kind of get 2 runners into scoring position. But I think there may be a little conversation just about what kind of hitter Piscotty is, too. A reminder of the scouting report.
Off to a very good start. 15 games, 5 doubles, a .319 average. First pitch popped up and out of play. When I watched Stephen Piscotty, I felt this way 2 spring trainings ago. I felt it this past spring training. He's not overwhelmed.
No.
Looks the part.
He fits.
Yeah.
You know, Dan, another reason I wouldn't be in favor of a walk here, and there's maybe 3 or 4 reasons, but one of them would be you'd be moving Yadi into a more precise scoring position situation, where right now a base hit by Piscotty, if he hits it hard, Yadi may not score from second.
Braun, good arm and right.
Yes.
Davis, good arm and left. Peterson, okay. 1 ball, 1 strike. 1-2 the count.
So knowing all those factors, they're in the head of Jose Oquendo right now as he's directing traffic. He's trying to encourage the hitter. We hear him yelling to Piscotty, trying to get Yadi a little bigger lead. Got a big one now.
Piscotty hits it sharply towards second. Force play at the bag. Segura. They just get Moss, and a nice play by Scooter Gennett, leading Gene Segura to the bag at second. Cardinals strand 2. There's no score.
Struggles. I had a chance to talk with him today, and he can't figure it out. It's been a rough season. He told me there are starts where he knew he had nothing, other starts where he felt great, and he said the results have all been the same, bad. Milwaukee is looking for a waiver trade for Loesch, who says he totally gets it. They want to give their young pitchers a shot. Loesch doesn't think he's done. He told me, quote, "I've had other setbacks in my career. I still believe I can do this." And Dan, it's a tough spot for Kyle, but the Milwaukee folks say he's handled it like a pro.
There's a base hit for Shane Peterson. Thank you, Jim. Shane Peterson was part of the Matt Holliday deal with Oakland back in 2009, a former second-round pick by the Cardinals in 08. And prior to this year, he had only played in a couple of games with Oakland, and those 2 games were at first base 2 years ago.
More on Kyle Loesch, you think about the setbacks that he's had that he mentioned to Jim, and one of those setbacks was the season that no one would sign him. And he was late into spring training when the Cardinals finally said, you know what, we're going to take our chance on him. And he was really a terrific starter for the Cardinals for a number of years, and was a great, I would say, a great buy, say it that way, for the Cardinals. And I think good for him, and it was good for St. Louis.
Really good at home. He pitched tremendously well in St. Louis. Struggling Gene Segura, only 7 hits in his last 58 at bats.
But you wonder those moments when you get into March 10th, March 11th, March 12th. You've gone all winter, no contract. I mean, it gets a little dicey.
Anxious.
Yeah.
A leadoff base hit by Shane Peterson. Told you about some of those numbers with Kyle Loesch. 13 losses, 87 earned runs this year by Loesch. Also leads the league in hits allowed. Only Kyle Kendrick, who we saw with Colorado last weekend at St. Louis, has allowed more home runs than Kyle Loesch. So, I mean, that's how tough a year it's been for him.
Jim Hayes told me earlier and reminded me earlier about the forearm issue that he had. And talk about your lows. That was a tough time as well.
Second strikeout for Lance Lynn.
Little wrinkle.
Elian Herrera, switch hitting third baseman. We just think no Carlos Gomez, no Ramirez, no Parham. Completely different looking lineup. And a base hit into right. Peterson on his way to third. Runners at the corners.
There's a lot going on in that play that was done well. And plenty of kudos everywhere, including Shane Peterson, the runner, and the throw from the right fielder, Jason Hayward. He charges the ball hard, and the throw is low enough to where the runner's going to think about maybe it could get cut off. Now, maybe a bit too high, but when Peterson, who's thinking third all the way, makes it from first to third, the hitter Herrera is not 100% sure because of that strong throw from Hayward whether or not he could advance to second base. So I think a lot of people did things well on that particular play.
So runners at the corners for Tyler Cravey. Gets the bunt down. Peterson stays put at third and safe at first. One pointing into the Cardinals dugout. Mike Matheny now on the top step. My question to you will be, should Peterson have scored?
I think that conversation's going on right now with Ed Cedar. I think we're going to see a challenge here, and David Bell seemed a little bit confident with that particular thumbs up, so we'll see with the replay. Thought he was out initially, but wasn't sure whether Wong was able to keep his foot on the bag, and really Peterson has to judge whether or not he's going to be able to get home by the time. What's Carpenter going to do? He could have taken 4 or 5 more steps, but you've got Peralta coming in behind him, so you better not be wrong. And I think he was worried about maybe Carpenter faking the throw and then maybe them catching him off base at third. There's the foot of Wong. Is it on the base? He's got the ball. Where's the foot?
I think he's out.
I think he's out too.
But if Peterson gets just a decent jump initially off the bat, I think he scores easily.
Well, what you do is you come along with the third baseman. You go as far as he is because he's not going to beat you back to the bag. The problem is Peralta was coming in on the backside. So you can come all the way down there, and Carpenter doesn't make the throw, and Peralta comes in behind you, now you're out. So, that's the dicey part of that play. Interesting on the challenge, Dan, and we found out after the game, the final game in Cincinnati, Mike Matheny shared with us and the post-game sound that he had a review in Cincinnati that was actually an umpire's challenge, and he didn't know it wasn't a manager's challenge. They didn't tell him that until after the game. So he actually had a play that he considered challenging but thought he was out of challenges. They got to fix that.
And Cravey is out, so a costly play here for Milwaukee. runner doesn't score, they do advance the man from first, but now you're dealing with 2 outs and Scooter Gennett.
Well, it's really a safety squeeze where the runner didn't go from third, wasn't sure he could make it. At the very least, you've sacrificed another runner in the scoring position.
So here is Gennett, who grounded out to second his first time up. The Brewers have talked about being very impressed with Gennett in terms of his attitude. He went down back on May 18th, was sent down for 3 weeks, didn't sulk, didn't pout, worked on some things, has come back up and played well. Hit .286 since that time. And Lynn is falling behind on a lot of these hitters. 2 balls, no strikes.
And that has not been his MO this season. He has been attacking the strike zone. He does throw a lot of pitches, Lance, because he gets a lot of strikeouts and a lot of swings and misses.
Runners at second and third, and a 2-0 pitch. Taken high. 3-0. First time through the lineup. 3 hits for Milwaukee. A walk and a pair of strikeouts.
I'm glad to hear what you said about Scooter Gennett, because the initial word this season was that he was struggling with some of those attitude issues and had a little big league-itis after having a good first season and had some altercations along that line, and they didn't like what they were seeing out of him attitude-wise. Sometimes you just need a little change of scenery to get yourself right.
Little reminder. He's a .389 hitter against Lynn. 3 balls, 1 strike. Popped out. Carpenter calling for it. And he's got it. The Brewers strand 2. They've left 4 on in 2 innings. When the Cardinals score 6, any size drink, just 50 cents the next day. That's Coffee Fountain. Frozen drinks, when they score, you pour at your nearest On the Run. You earned it.
There's Shane Peterson. Topic of conversation between Dan McLaughlin and myself during the break about whether or not he should have scored on that and how to do it. And that's part of the fun of the game, is trying to figure out, number one, was that a suicide or a safety squeeze, and number two, when you could have taken off. Do you wait till Carpenter gets the ball or before? But a missed opportunity either way. And as aggressive as he was going from first to third, Dan, your point is it ought to be fast enough to score.
Thanks for making my point.
I found that it's always safer to do it that way.
You're learning. Here's a 2-1 pitch to Lynn. The fly ball into deep right field. Rondo on the track in enough room. So let's go back to the play here with Shane Peterson.
So if this is a safety squeeze, you don't go when the guy bunts the ball, you don't go first, but you go off as far as the third baseman is. So he's not going yet, but he could have gone 3 or 4 more steps and then just kind of froze. And either he missed the safety squeeze sign or the intent was to just sacrifice the runner from first to second to put 2 into scoring position. That's the guy that knows.
Here is Carpenter, and he looks at strike 1. Struck out back in the first inning.
I kind of like this idea of making your points for you, so I can kind of frame them exactly.
Well, it makes it just a little clearer for you to understand.
Well, I could embellish. I could cut some things out. I'm going to like this. Polish him up a little bit.
Right. One ball, 1 strike on Carpenter.
Interesting delivery for Cravey. We see more pitchers doing this where it almost is like going out of the stretch. But he turns it into a windup. You think about David Price doing that. He doesn't really stop, but he just kind of turns it into a windup, and really nothing dramatic about his mechanics. Pretty simple. Not a particular hard throwing fastball guy.
We'll keep an eye on the Dodgers and the Pirates tonight. LA leading 3-2 as Carpenter hits it in the air in the foul territory. The catch made by Davis. That was Garrett Cole against Clayton Kershaw in that game. Now time for you to tweet your strongest fan photo. Use the hashtag MWDataStrongFan, and we'll see a shot coming up later in our telecast. Cubs win today. That's an important game for Chicago. That was against the San Francisco Giants, and those two fighting for those wild card spots. Cardinals go in order. We'll continue to talk about the play, and Rick will interpret it any way he wants. Saturday, we have a doubleheader, starting with the Dodgers taking on the Pirates in a key game for both those teams. Then at 6, the Cardinals and Brewers in a game that you can only see on Fox Sports 1. Coverage begins at 2:30, only on Fox Sports 1, streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Where are we going to watch it? We coming over?
We can watch it right here. Maybe sit in the dugout?
Yeah. See if Michael let us just sit right down there. We can give him some advice. I'm sure he'd love that.
I'll ask.
I know
about
the
the
answer.
bullpen? I'd like to sit in the bullpen.
Actually, that would be better.
You sit next to David Bell, give some extra advice as the bench coach plus.
Right.
And I'll sit in the bullpen and listen to stories.
And tell a lot of them, too.
Add a few.
Here's Jonathan Lucroy, grounded out to short first time up, and again Lynn falling behind, so Molina out to visit.
Danny, honestly, the number of times people ask me if I miss playing, and you know, some don't know that I did, that's fine too, but I mean, the point is, the answer I always give is I miss sitting there in the bullpen talking. Honestly, there's so much fun that goes on in the bullpen, and you have such great relationships. And I mean, there are things you just remember your entire life. And so, miss pitching? No. Miss being in the bullpen? Absolutely.
Saw a shot there of Randy Choate, and I talked to Randy just the other day. I said, what is going on in the bullpen right now? I said, give me your third and fourth inning. He said, well, we are talking and paying attention to the game. He said, but we really start to pay attention in the fifth. When you get to the fifth inning, we start to dial it in and take a hard look at maybe what could be happening down the line in this game.
And you always are watching it kind of in a soft way. I mean, you know the score, you know who's swinging the bat well on the other team. You're half paying attention to that, and you also kind of get a little bit more ramped up in waves. So when it gets to the fifth inning, you've got Villanueva that's getting a little bit more ready, and the lefty's coming up. It's Choate who's getting a little more ready. So everybody understands when they will probably be the guy who's called upon to warm up, and that's part of doing that job in the bullpen is being ready.
It's turned into a veteran bullpen almost overnight. We should mention the Cardinals have added Tyler Lyons to the bullpen, and Greg Garcia was sent back down. Ryan Braun with a base hit to right. The all-time record for home runs by a Brewer is Robin Yount, the Hall of Famer, 251, and Braun too shy of that. He's quietly had a very good year.
Sure has.
5th in the National League in runs, 9th in extra base hits, and he became a 6-time All-Star a month ago.
When the Cardinals saw him early in the season, the best way I can describe him is he was an out. If you threw him a curveball, he would chase and miss it. If you threw him a fastball, he couldn't catch up to it. He just was not the normal Ryan Braun.
And in talking with those that follow the team every day, they say he's going to right field an awful lot, which he did in his first at bat. But it's not just going to right field. He's hitting with the authority and the power to right center that he used to.
Clearly a difference between flaring the ball to right and driving the ball to right.
What are you seeing now from Lance Lynn? Falling behind an awful lot tonight.
Yeah, he's a little bit out of whack with his mechanics. He seems like even tempo-wise that he'll slow down one pitch, speed up another pitch. He's trying to find that right tempo. That one's a little quick. And it's such a small difference, Dan. You can see it. And if you watch him and if you've seen him pitch enough, pitching coaches certainly see it. But he has to feel it. He has to feel where the ball's coming out of his hand at the right release point, body in the right position, and it's a feel thing.
2-2. Double play ball. Nice. To Wong the turn. Double play. What a play that was all the way around. Peralta, Wong over to Brandon Moss.
Hard hit ground ball up the middle. You called it a double play ball. I was getting ready to argue with you.
You were thinking base hit to center.
Well, I was thinking maybe one, but so many good things done on the defensive side here. This ball hit so hard. Peralta having to get it and do the backflip and then the quick turn by Colton Wong. And you also know that Ryan Braun runs well. So for that to be a double play, had to be defended well, and it was.
I think before it's all said and done with Colton Wong, he will win a Gold Glove. It seems like the dramatic plays, he comes up with a couple of those weekly, and when he makes his errors, it just seems to be the routine plays.
Al and I were talking yesterday about the 10 errors that he has, and we couldn't remember very many of them within the last month. A lot of them came early. They came in bunches.
There was a couple on opening day in St. Louis, I believe. Mentioned that Lind is riding a 6-game hitting streak. He had 3 hits and 3 RBIs in their 10-1 win yesterday. I think when you think about Wong too, he's just scratching the surface of just how good he may be offensively and defensively.
We've heard him say a lot in interviews with Jim and others that he wants to be a better defensive player, and I think that's step one. Some guys just want to be big leaguers and put up big numbers and do what you do on the offensive side, but he wants to be a great defensive player, and I got to believe he's going to keep working to that end.
Here's a 3-2. Ground ball, Peralta up with it, and he makes the play. Another look at the double play off the bat of Ryan Braun as we head to a timeout. Peralta, Wong, Moss. 6-4-3. No score as we head to the 4th. So we head to the 4th inning, and there's no score. Part of our Kia in the driver's seat. And the lowest ERA on 5 or more days rest. Lynn, .82. Good curveball there from Tyler Craving. We're underway here in the top of 4. Pittsburgh has taken a 4-3 lead. The bottom of 5, Aramis Ramirez singled in Andrew McCutchen. And it's 4-3 Pirates. Clayton Kershaw riding coming into the ball game tonight, 37 scoreless innings consecutively. The heels of what Greinke just did. And Peralta chops it to short. Segura, one down.
Those two just do not give up a lot of runs. And when you think about the Dodgers, the power of the Dodgers, you think about their starters 1 and 2 and some of the pieces that they've gotten for that team. That's a team that all of a sudden, in my mind, may be the odds-on favorite if you had to kind of handicap it in terms of who's strongest for a short series in the playoffs. So I think the Dodgers are a terrific team. The Nationals, of course, have a lot of good pieces. The Cardinals, whether you can talk about the offense not being one of the top 2 or 3 offenses in the National League, the pitching's so extraordinary. You can't discount the Cardinals either.
And the thing is, once you're in, anything can happen,
That's
which
true.
is cliche, because I thought the Dodgers the last 2 years, because of Kershaw and Greinke, are arguably the team to beat.
Still got to do it.
Yeah. For Jason Hayward, it was hit number 750 of his career. The win over Cincinnati yesterday. That pitch taken inside. A few years ago, all we did is talk about the tremendous run support that Lance Lynn would receive.
You jinxed it.
Hopefully the right way.
You notice how you said we, but then I said you? Did you notice that?
I did. Thanks for turning it around. Shocking. He has gotten 1 game this year out of his 20 starts with more than 4 runs of support. Think about that. 1 game. Cardinals yesterday with the shutout, their 11th shutout of the season. Last year they had 23. And the 11 is the 4th best in the major leagues. 3-2 pitch. And that's a base hit for Hayward. First Cardinal hit since a Yadier Molina double back in the second.
One of those hard hit ground balls. It's not a line drive, but when you hit the ball on the ground with that kind of authority, tough to defend.
Grichuk, one of the Cardinals that had a decent night against Cravey in his major league debut. He was 2 for 3 with a double back in early June. He popped out his first time up. Lucroy caught Cole Buong earlier. I wonder if Hayward wants to do some running here. Prior to yesterday's 0 for 4, Grichuk was on a tear. Over the last 3 weeks, along some of the biggest names in the game with his numbers. The BJC Healthcare difference maker. Look at that. Cargo, Nelson Cruz, Grichuk, and Teixeira since July 6th. Not bad for the rookie.
Combination of average and power. Rare when you can find a talent like that.
And the 1-1 pitch to Grichuk.
I love watching Jason Hayward getting his lead. You can see him working on short little movements to his right, thinking I'm going to get a jump. He's trying to time him, trying to figure something out. And you know, he's not just stationary on his lead. He's really trying to get a little positive movement going towards second base. There it is.
Late with that swing, and Grichuk strikes out. 0 for 2.
I have not seen a lot of movement on the fastball of Cravey when he throws it up in the zone, but guys are not catching up to it. This is just a pretty straight fastball at 91 at the top part of the zone, and he's gotten Peralta, he's gotten Grichuk, he got Matt Carpenter up there in the first. Something sneaky about this right-hander.
Molina to short. Segura Force play at second with Scooter Gennett at the bag. Cardinals strand a runner, their third of the night. We're midway through 4. No score. Up at Phillips 66, 8 gallons or more now until September 24th. Receive up to 50% off on a pair of tickets to a Cardinals home game. For more information, visit cardinals.com/Phillips66. Chris Davis, Shane Peterson, and Gene Segura. Chris Davis missed 6 weeks with a knee injury, hurt on a check swing, had to have surgery. And now with Parra gone to the Orioles, this will give him plenty of playing time. They say he needs to be an everyday player. Struggles coming off the bench. For some guys can fit into that role. For him, apparently, it's been very tough.
Seems like he has some holes potentially, and if he doesn't have the right timing, they can be taken advantage of. So you want to get him in a groove. Certainly was in a groove here yesterday.
Popped up. Molina giving chase. Reaching in and maybe about a foot away. Almost came up with that.
It's a great effort by Yachty. Kind of went around the screen. Had a little window of opportunity to maybe make that play, and the effort's terrific. He's around the screen. He's going into maybe the second or third row. Excuse me, sir. Oh. That close. Dan, isn't it interesting that last inning, talking about the tempo of Lance Lynn maybe being off a little bit. This is what you get when you've got a pitching staff that's got an ERA of 2.63. Actually talking about how Lance Lynn needs to get better, and he's got 3 zeros on the board, for goodness sakes.
Right.
Walked 2 guys, 2 strikeouts through 3. That's how good the pitching has been.
For Chris Davis, it was his first start since July 8th. The pitching is on a historic level. An all-time great level. The 2-2. It's good to see Michael Wacha put back-to-back starts together now and back into the form that we saw him earlier this year.
14 innings without giving up a run. The Cardinals now, by the way, are on a streak of 21 straight innings collectively without giving up a run. Wacha a part of that. Bullpen a part of that. was asked in the offseason the most important player for the Cardinals in 2015, and my answer repeatedly was Michael Wacha. Thought he was going to be more important than anybody else on the team because coming back from an injury, he had this great upside, but you also weren't sure what kind of pitcher he would be. He's answered that question.
Lynn was strikeout number 3.
There's a high fastball, a little hop to it. Lance showing a little emotion after this strikeout. That's being a little bit late on this one.
You know, you're talking about Tyler Cravey and some of the swings we've seen by the Cardinals tonight late. I think we see that every time with Lance Lynn. There's nothing fancy about Lynn. I mean, he cuts it, he moves it, changes the eye level. So don't get me wrong. I mean, he's pitching. But a lot of late swings for a guy that's topping out 92 to 93.
His velocity a little bit more than Cravey's, but I think your point's well taken, and I think his ball has that little hop to it, top of the zone, and not every pitcher has that. Call it hop, call it late movement, call it what you want. But the hitter calls it tough to hit.
The 0-2. Hit the other way and a base hit. 0-2 pitch, and Peterson is 2 for 2.
Not the location that Lance Lynn wanted, 0-2. So a mistake there. I think he wanted to go in and just didn't get it in there.
Gene Segura mentioned his struggles recently. He's hit the Cardinals well this year, 351 average. Does have a hit each of his last 4 games. Lynn against Milwaukee, 13 career starts, a 6-2 record. 0-2 on Gene Segura. Really fought, it seemed like, mechanics, feel on Saturday against Colorado. He had gone 5-1 with an ERA under 2 in 9 starts prior to the game on Saturday.
Ended up with 7 hits and 3 walks in that game. Uncharacteristic. In just 5 innings, he went 106 pitches, too. He's a guy who throws a lot of pitches, as we mentioned. He's also pretty durable, too.
I get a kick out of it. The media will ask him after games about pitch counts or going deep into games, and he says, just throw that out the window. With pitch counts with me, I understand with others, especially guys that are coming off an injury or whatnot. You look at it, he said, with me, do not. Kind of old school.
I have come to really enjoy the post-game interviews of Lance Lynn. He has a coy, maybe sarcastic kind of style that I find pretty funny. I think he's kind of trying to be funny in a dry way.
Good pitch down in the zone. Yeah, our fans, you know, in any sport that you follow, the casual fan does not get a chance to get up close to the players and really get to know them. And I've been on the Caravan a couple of times with Lance, worked with him on different projects, especially in spring training. He is a funny guy.
I agree.
He's fun to be around, too. I'm in the same boat, though. When I watch those post-game interviews, I just crack up.
Sometimes it seems that he says what he shouldn't say without really saying it.
Right. It's a good way to put it.
I'm glad it was a good way to put it because I didn't understand what I just said.
Wait a minute. I think you just did it. I get it.
Uh-huh.
Hit the other way, and it drops in for a base hit in front of Piscotty. Soft liner by Herrera. 2 hits in the inning. Runners at first and second, and the pitcher, Tyler Cravey.
Middle. And that could have been a bigger problem if Piscotty was not careful with that ball, because you could tell it kind of short hopped him and could have easily handcuffed him and gone to the wall.
Look at the bottom of this lineup, starting with Chris Davis, 0 for 2 pair of strikeouts. Then Peterson after him, 2 for 2. Segura, the next man, 0 for 2, 2 strikeouts. Herrera, 2 for 2. Now brings in Cravey with runners at first and second. Milwaukee is already stranded 4 tonight. There's a broken bat. Tough play here for Carpenter. Can he get him? He does. The Brewers will strand 2. They've left 6 on. We head to the 5th. No score. At home, 5 under in the Central, and so they're just trying to get things going, play the string out, and see some of the younger players that they have. Not a fun position though to be in.
Well, you're playing out the string, but it really is a pretty long string.
A couple of months.
We have played exactly 2/3 of the season. In some ways, it feels like you're headed towards the home stretch, but if you realize how much can happen in 1/3 of a baseball season. I mean, there's a long, long way to go, and teams that are, you and I talked about it last week, teams that are only 4 games out in the wild card, I mean, there's all kinds of time to make that up. And I'm talking about specifically the Detroit Tigers. That's a team I've kind of got on my radar, despite being sellers.
The team I have on my radar, which I know is a team and it's an easy choice, is Toronto. And it's not only about making it to the wild card. I think they can take over the Yankees before this thing is all said and done. Moss jumps on the pitch out to deep right, and it's off the base of the wall. He better hurry. On his way to second and in there safely with a double. Moss on base for the second time tonight.
And again, you've got everybody doing things well. Moss at the plate, driving the ball into the corner and out of the box. He knows he better move, and he is. Right out of the box. Rounds first base hard, but a perfect throw from Ryan Braun and a good tag, too, as the hop came up a bit. Really love to see baseball, Dan, played well.
Crisp. Piscotty, a liner to left. That ball is down. Ross will score. Piscotty on his way to second base. Chris Davis went for it and got burned. 1-0 St. Louis.
Well, on one hand, you applaud him for the effort. On the other hand, what he's done is he's given the Cardinals the lead and advanced Piscotty from first to second. He has to make up his mind whether or not he thinks he can catch this baseball. It was kind of a sinking line drive off the bat of Piscotty. And Davis gets a little bit too close to it, tries to smother it with his glove, and it just tips off the end of the glove. Really, I like the effort.
Now it's Lance Lynn, who has 5 sacrifices this year. Looking at the replay, Davis is lucky he just got a piece of it. That ball gets by him. It's a triple, if not more. Stephen Piscotty now, what, 6 doubles in 16 games?
It's the ball hard, too, doesn't it?
Yes,
Talk
he does.
about Grichuk doing it, but so does Piscotty. Watch out. Lance's initial reaction, I'm not sure whether he was relieved that the ball didn't hit him or mad that Cravey threw it up and in, or a combination of both.
One ball, 1 strike. Piscotty, a runner at second base.
Adam Lind can hardly be closer to Lance Lynn. They could almost shake hands by the time the pitch was thrown. He was so close, so you've got to bunt this ball to third base side. Got to angle your bat, get the bat angle out.
It's 3 pitches that have been into Lynn, and he is none too pleased.
I wonder if that might have even caught his hand on that bunt attempt. Lavini none too pleased. Mike does not often say a lot, but he says a lot with his eyes. There's the pitch coming in. Very close to catching a finger. Good camera work there.
Now the 2-2. Strikeout of Lynn. Lows never stop improving, and it's a look at Matt Carpenter in the leadoff position. Carpenter found a home here a couple of years ago. He's back in that top spot, and the numbers just bear out. He loves hitting that #1 spot in the lineup. Our lows never stop improving. He's hitting .351 with runners in scoring position. 10th best as Piscotty is back in safely.
I could hear Jose Oquendo yelling for him to get back up here. As he saw the shortstop. That's one thing the third base coach does, is he's watching the infielders behind you for you, because you can't see them. And he saw Segura sneaking in, and Piscotty didn't. And had Cravey seen it a half second sooner, he'd be out.
Cardinals with a 1-run lead as he play here in the top of 5.
And there are pickoff plays with middle infielders that are planned, and there's some of them that just happen. When an infielder sees something, and what they'll do is they'll flash their open glove if they're headed to the bag because they believe they got a shot at getting it. It's not necessarily a planned pickoff. They just see something, and they try to go in behind him and surprise him, and Segura almost got it done.
The daylight play.
Daylight, exactly.
1 ball, 1 strike with 1 out.
I wonder who named it the daylight play. Pepper Martin, Frankie Frisch, Abner Doubleday, Alexander Cartwright, Mike Shannon.
I was going to say Geronimo Pena.
Who knows? Not really the greatest name.
Well,
really.
no, if it was going to be, it'd have to be the moonlight play if it's Shannon.
Right. You may call it that. I don't know. There's the Moon Man.
The 2-2. And time is granted for Carpenter. Mike Napoli has been traded to the Texas Rangers. Nick Swisher went to Atlanta along with Michael Bourne today. The 2-2 hit out of play. Get the feeling that if the Brewers can find some willing trade partners, they're not done yet.
Yeah, I think there are probably some baseball fans that are saying, hey, wait a minute, I thought that the trading deadline ended and there wouldn't be any more trades. And the trading deadline is over, yes, but trades can be made as long as the players clear through waivers and nobody else claims them. And it's a very different set of circumstances, and teams will block trades now where they couldn't block them before.
The 2-2. Inside to Carpenter, 3-2 with Wong on deck.
An example would be before the trading deadline, the Cardinals may have said, hey, I don't want Pittsburgh to have Aramis Ramirez. So they could have kind of put a claim in on it as well, and they would have kind of taken it back off the waivers. The deal may not have been made. So different set of rules. You could have blocked that after the fact, but you couldn't do it beforehand.
(3-2) and a fly ball lifted down the left field line, out of play.
High fives all the way around, thumbs up, nice play. About the story when he goes back to school.
(3-2) Carpenter, a drive into right. One hops off the wall. Piscotty will score. The Cardinals' third double here in the top of the fifth. What an at bat there by Carpenter. 2-0 St. Louis.
Classic Matt Carpenter at bat. Deep count, 2 strikes, hang tough, and then still manage to drive the baseball.
Great way to put it. Classic Matt Carpenter at bat. A little bit of everything in what he does.
And a good inning offensively for the Cardinals. You mentioned 3 doubles. And doubles, to me, we've said this before, are a power stat.
So if you're not hitting a ton of home runs, and the Cardinals don't, but look at where they are at in terms of doubles.
They're about average as far as the home runs as we look at it. Very stingy giving them up. Cardinals give up the least number of home runs in all of baseball. Not surprising considering the team ERA.
2 balls, no strikes on Wong. If the Cardinals win tonight, they will go to 31 games above 500. They're 30 above right now, first time since the end of 2013. So if you want to play this out, again, Ricky's right on, spot on. Still a long ways to go. However, if they play 500 baseball from here on out, just 500, they finish with 96 wins.
I'll bet that man's hoping for more.
3-0 pitch. A walk to Colton Wong, and now a visit. They're going to try to settle down Cravey. Rick has rented out a restaurant, and you have a chance to watch the ball game with him tomorrow on Fox Sports 1. It's presented by Budweiser. Jaime Garcia, Willie Peralta. Peralta's dealt with an oblique issue all year. Garcia, he's 3-4. Will come your way tomorrow on Fox Sports 1 at 6. To Budweiser, what's on tap? You are incredibly generous. That's great for you to do that.
All my friends will be there. So what are you doing?
Again,
that was uncalled for.
Uncalled for.
Oh, boy.
2 walks issue. And Peralta with a fly ball into right. Ball giving chase. Makes the catch on the track. And the runners do not tag.
Matt Carpenter has to be on third base, in my opinion, on that play. And the ball gets into the corner. He's probably going to score anyway. And, you know, it really is a matter of reading it. Is he going to catch it or not? And I'm not saying it's an easy thing to figure out, but he's kind of halfway. And he thought about tagging up just maybe a second too late. Because if he tags up with the ball in that corner, he's on third base.
Also slipped a little bit trying to tag up, but initially not back in the bag.
The other thing I would say in his defense would be that there was 1 out.
Hayward, a bouncer up the middle. That's a base hit. Here comes Carpenter. He'll score. 3-0 Cardinals. 2-hit night so far for Jason Hayward.
A hard ground ball up the middle for Hayward in the 4th inning. And just to prove that he could do it again, there's another hard ground ball. And Carpenter with 2 outs, no problem scoring. Good jump here. Matt Carpenter scores an awful lot of runs.
I would say this, though, Rick, if you're not going to hit a lot of home runs, you've got to do little things properly. Running the bases, moving runners over, those types of things.
The defensive metrics for the Cardinals, you happen to check that today. I'm sorry, the base running metrics for the Cardinals.
That's out of play off the bat of Randall Grichuk,
which I checked today. The Cardinals are in the middle of the pack in the National League as far as base running. The one that kind of gets the most credit for taking extra bases is Jason Hayward, the runner at first base. And we've seen that. Now, he's gotten thrown out a few times, but he has taken plenty of extra bases. So I think being middle of the pack for the Cardinals this year is actually an improvement from what we saw last year. The idea is to keep getting better. That extra base can create extra wins.
1 ball, 1 strike. Runners at first and third with 2 outs. Grichuk, a drive. Right center. Goodbye. 3-run bomb. Opposite way. Randall Grichuk. You talk about some power. Wow. Love watching this guy play.
I love the dance at the end. I love the swing at the beginning. I'm not sure which was more complicated.
Is there a more exciting player in the lineup than Randal Grichuk?
You've heard me say it. He may not be the best player, but he's the most exciting player. And the more I say that, the more I may have to rethink about whether or not he's the best player or not. There may be a time where that is true as well.
And there's a fly ball out to right. The Cardinals put up a 6 spot. 5 hits highlighted by home run number 14 from Randal Grichuk. RBIs 41, 42, 43. 6-0 St. Louis. Off the bat of Randal Grichuk.
That ball is down and away. Pitchers normally like that. But how about the result? Kind of has the Bash Brothers kind of celebration there with Colton Wong. He'd have fit right in there with the Oakland A's, wouldn't he?
Man, oh man. Cardinals talk about just how his power has been seen at all levels. There's a fly ball into left center. There's Grichuk. But they consider him one of the strongest players, if not the strongest, on the team. This is a team that includes Matt Holliday.
Well, Matheny said that directly to me, and I asked him about his strength. And when I first asked him, his comment was, well, really from hand to shoulder, there is not a stronger guy on our team as far as his arms are concerned. He has got incredibly strong arms. And I said, well, what about Holliday? Because Matt certainly is a strong proponent of lifting, very, very strong guy, hits the ball hard himself. And Mike said, I'm telling you, Grichuk is the strongest guy on this team.
I know he's not getting the national media attention. We still have, as you mentioned, a third of the season to go. Is he thrusting himself into the Rookie of the Year conversation?
He has opened the door and he's peeked in and he said hello to everybody, and they're recognizing that he's in the room. I think he was kind of on the outside, kind of knocking the last couple of weeks, but I believe he's in the conversation right now. And people, I think until they see him once, there's a misunderstanding about him. I think people look at him and they think, well, he's not a big guy. I mean, we had some people tell us that today. But really, this is a guy that's got power. He's not a big guy, though, but he sure plays like a big guy.
Taken by Moss at first. Steps on the bag, and Lucroy is out number 2, and it brings in Ryan Braun.
He has fun playing the game, too.
You're going to hear about Chris Bryant. You're going to hear about Gung of Pittsburgh.
Peterson.
Jack Peterson. I've even heard some people say Kyle Schwarber, now of the Chicago Cubs, has come up and made an impact.
Duffy with
Duffy for sure. Yep.
And we're just talking about the hitters right now, and there are certain pitchers, although the pitching crop not the same as we've had in other years.
Noah Syndergaard. Good breaking ball.
But as we mentioned, a third of the season left. A lot can happen. Individual stats over a third of the season. The command seems to be improving a bit for Lance Lynn.
Pitch number 10 of the inning. Ryan Braun tonight is single to right and hit into a 6-4-3 double play. Right-hander continues to throw in the pen for Milwaukee. 2-2, hit the other way and foul. Braun will check his bat. Randall Grichuk right now leads all rookies in extra base hits with 41. Over half his hits have gone for extra bases. Slugging percentage outstanding. And remember, at the beginning of the season, he wasn't playing every day. With the injuries to Jay and Holiday being out, he's going to play the bulk of the time, you would have to think, for the rest of the year, somewhere in the outfield. Right down the middle, Braun knew it, and a strikeout. Number 5. Opportunity to pick up $6 tickets August 17th, 18th, and 19th. The Giants will be in town in the upcoming homestand, and you can get those $6 seats. They will sell out incredibly fast. Cardinals.com/famous footwear. Cardinals.com/famous footwear. $6 tickets when the Giants are in town. Much better inning, wasn't it, for Lance Lynn there in the bottom of 5?
Well, he took those 6 runs and said, you know what, I'm going to use those, take those, and push the pedal to the floor, and his command was better. Interesting what a pitcher does between innings. His manager and his coach are still thinking, but you're trying to relax but stay kind of in the game and in focus as a starting pitcher. And rest, but not kind of lose that focus. And there's a trick to that. Some guys will talk, others won't.
Here's Brandon Moss. Cardinals batted around in the top of the fifth inning. It all began with Moss with a double off the base of the wall.
The general rule of thumb, Dan, by the way, is speak when spoken to when it comes to the starting pitcher.
One away. Edward Jones pleased to sponsor the Hall of Fame and the annual induction process that gives fans a voice in honoring the team's greatest players. Simmons, Flood, Forsch, Kissel will all be inducted coming up. Tyler Thornburg is the new pitcher. Chevy called to the pen, his 9th appearance. He's been in the rotation before. Now working out of the bullpen. I had our Willie and Ozzie speaker series this past week. I said to Willie, I asked him, I said, what does it mean to be a Cardinal Hall of Famer? And there's a liner that's caught by Herrera for out number 2. In typical Willie humble fashion said, Dan, long pause, I'll take whatever I can get.
That's a typical Willie response. You know, Willie has a humility about him, but he also has a little bit more of a sense of humor and an entertainment factor than most people know. You don't always get that unless you're in the settings like you're talking about, where you had he and Ozzie together and you were kind of just being able to be relaxed and get into the real Willie McGee. And I understand it was a terrific night, and you deserve a lot of congratulations for that.
Well, they were great. We did 2 nights, and both were just sensational. 0-2. I said, Willie, you guys are watching the Ozzie plays after all these years. What was being said in the dugout? You know, fans are going crazy over him. Literally, we all went crazy with the home run. And he said, well, he said, if you missed a play, Ozzie, he'd definitely tell you about the play.
What did Ozzie do?
And Ozzie said, I'm not going to give Willie any trouble, because if I do, I'll be tackled by everybody here. He's the most popular guy in town.
Well, see, that's Ozzie being a very smart politician right there. You do not want to get on the wrong side of Willie McGee, even if you're kidding, because I do believe he could run for mayor and maybe win.
So much fun. 3-2 pitch to Lynn. Line drive into center. Sends us to the bottom of the 6th. Herrera put away the pop-up and then caught this liner off the bat of Piscotty. the outstanding second baseman, all-star of the Twins. Tonight, Carpenter 1 for 3 with a double and an RBI. Go to DraftKings.com, enter promo code CARDS. Sausage race. Randall Simon is not here. Everybody's safe. Uh-oh.
Oops.
Yeah.
What do you do? Well, that's what you do. Hey, it's a game of adjustments.
That's why you're one of the top analysts in the game. You just broke down the sausage race with a game of adjustments when your pants are falling down to your ankles. Nicely done. Adam Lind with a fly ball in his center, and Grichuk is there. Lind 0 for 2 with a walk. You're the Brewers. Some of these guys are making really big money. They're all making good money. Come to the ballpark, you look up, you're in last place. You've traded away major chips, great players. You're down 6-0 midway through this game against a team that you would assume is headed to postseason play, barring a major collapse. You've been on great teams, 85, 87. You've been on teams that were not so good.
Oh, yeah.
What do you do if you're Craig Counsell? How do you motivate your team?
Well, I think you've got to use your coaches first and foremost. It can't just be your voice. It's got to be your coach's voice. And they have to be reminding everybody kind of in their lane. You know, if you're a bullpen coach, you've got your lane of guys that are out there in the bullpen. If you're the pitching coach, primarily the starting pitchers, and you got a bench coach, you've got a hitting coach, and you got to remind them to stay in it, to stay professional. This is our job. This is the big leagues. And I think with the players, the message has to be received that what they do over the next third of the season, there's Darnell Coles, the hitting coach. What they do over the next third of the season will significantly impact their future as a major league player. You've got very little time to play this game. You really do. I mean, the average player plays, what, 4 years, 3 or 4 years.
Right.
So you're going to throw away a third of a season just because you're in last place. You got to, it's your job, play hard, convince them of that. You got a short window to enhance and continue and maybe lengthen your career. Don't waste it.
2-2.
And secondarily, continue to support your teammates who are trying to do the same thing. Because if you're a guy that shows himself in the midst of a bad season as being a bad teammate, because those get found out in this kind of situation, those guys don't become the players on the bench in the twilight of their career. They become ex-players.
Third walk issued by Lind. It's just hard to think about the dramatic fall that this team has had. 1 year ago today, the Brewers were in first place with Ramirez and Gomez and Parra. Now again, they weren't playing great baseball. They got up to a terrific start. But this has been a dramatic fall in just a year's time.
You ever play King of the Mountain when you were a kid? Were you ever a kid, Dan?
Oh, yeah.
I thought you were.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
you know, you climb up a hill and then everybody's got to try to get you off the hill. And the Brewers were the King of the Mountain a year ago, and they had a long free fall. Somebody kind of grabbed them and pulled them, and they fell down, and they haven't been able to get their footing since.
Peterson, 3 for 3. Yeah, I did my first major league game when I was 8.
Didn't think you were a kid.
Next time you're looking for great seats, head to StubHub. On StubHub, you can grab Cardinals tickets all season long, even at the last minute, and even if the game is sold out. So get to StubHub today. StubHub, the official fan-to-fan ticket marketplace of the Cardinals. That's one way you stay in the game. Don't watch it. Have a little fun at the ballpark.
Okay. A lot of ways to enjoy a baseball game.
Pitch count at 96 for Lance Lynn. Is this a game that maybe Tyler Lyons finishes up?
Yeah, you mentioned the Cardinals bullpen earlier, with kind of just everybody laughing and joking around. I think now is the time where you start to pay attention. And you quiet down, you calm down, you start to think, okay, who's up, who's next, who's after that. They know the pitch count of Lance Lynn. That's not a secret to these guys. So who starts to kind of get loose?
Seth Maness, he gets loose every night. Runners at first and second. Segura waves at that pitch. Strikeout number 6.
Third time he's gotten Segura, and this is, boy, a bad swing by Segura. Did not pick up that delivery at all. And a nice strikeout for Lance Lynn. Getting him closer to getting through 6, which will probably be it for him.
2 on, 2 outs. Herrera is single to right and singled with a soft liner to left. 2 for 2. Lynn is trying to pick up his 30th career win against the National League Central. Currently he's 29-15 inside the division. A 3.41 ERA.
Dan, you think about the importance of lineup construction on a given night. The players in front and behind of Segura tonight are 5 for 5. And he struck out 3 times. If he gets hits those times, the Brewers have 5 or 6 runs.
Different game.
They couldn't get the back-to-back-to-back hits that you need to score runs.
Two balls, 1 strike. Big gap in right center. Grichuk shallow in center field. Cardinals pitching has been on quite a run. 25 plus consecutive scoreless innings. Taken high, so 2 walks in the inning. 4 tonight for Lynn. The Brewers will go to their bench.
One left-hander they have on their bench is Logan Schaefer, and the visit to the mound with the bases loaded is Derek Lilliquist, which means typically that Lance will be allowed to face it.
AT&T Uverse Rewind. Randall Grichuk, part of a 6-run inning for the Cardinals. And a 3-run homer the opposite way. Quite a routine those two have.
I love it.
Having fun.
Maybe you and I should work out something similar. After a big call,
maybe do a couple of splits.
You had a nice call on that home run. Maybe kind of work out something, choreograph it. Do the splits. Those days have come and gone.
Logan Schaefer hitting .211, comes off the bench with the bases loaded.
Not really picked up very often, including tonight with Lance Lynn. Diminished velocity as the game wears on. He still has good stuff. Trying to finish it out here. Probably his last batter, no matter what happens. But still throwing 94 miles an hour.
Looking for strikeout number 7. In what could have been his final pitch of the night, Lynn, strikeout number 7. And the Brewers strand the bases loaded. We head to inning number 7. Biggest strikeout of the night for Lance Lynn. Brewers still off the board. $1,000 to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Cardinals about hit Milwaukee 8-6. They lead it 6-0. Top of the lineup for St. Louis: Carpenter, Wong, and Peralta. The Mazda game summary: Lynn 6 innings, Grichuk 1 for 3, the 3-run homer. Pravy 5 innings, 6 earned, couple of walks, struck out 4, and Peterson 3 for 3 for Milwaukee tonight. Craig Counsell replaced Ron Renneke after he saw the Brewers off to a 7-18 start. But since that time, they're 5 games under 500 in 85 games with Counsell at the helm. New pitcher Neil Kotz is in.
35-year-old veteran left-hander from Lebanon, Illinois.
High fly ball lifted into center, and this ball is gone. Or is it? Carpenter into second base. It looked like that cleared the wall. And Mike Matheny is already out of the dugout. Carpenter at least with a double, which would be his second of the night. I thought for sure that was over the yellow line.
So close. They're going to have a discussion about it. We've had a number of balls hit off the top of the wall recently. Is this another one? Boy, it sure is. Right off the top of the wall. The way it came back off the wall, I thought it was a home run as well, but it hits the yellow line. And boy, once they get a chance to look at this, this will be a kind of a boundary review. And they're going to see what we just saw. They got the call right as a double.
The umpire went out into shallow center, immediately called it as a ball that's still in play, so give him credit.
Got it right.
And Carpenter said, no, that's not a home run. But he does wind up at second base with a double. He came in third in the league at the start of play tonight with 27. He's now up to 29.
About the way that ball carried to center field. Off the bat, you thought maybe fly ball, and it just kept going and going.
Rick, they say when the panels are open here at the ballpark, which they can close not only the roof, but there's paneling. It's a crew chief review, by the way, not a challenge. But they say that paneling is open in left and right center. That is the correct call, so a double. They say the ball really can jump, especially when it heats up here in the summer.
Almost another home run given up by Brewers pitchers here at home. They have given up a ton here in this ballpark. Almost add that one to the list.
Wong has an infield hit, was caught stealing back in the first, grounded out to second, walked and scored in the fifth.
Kotz, or Chevy called to the bullpen, well-traveled veteran. A lot of years with the White Sox and the Cubs both. Also played with Texas. Been a good left-hander in his career. You mentioned the Brewers under Craig Counsell maybe being just a tad better record-wise. The Phillies have been a tad better under Pete McCannon after the firing of Ryan Sandberg.
They've been hot after the break.
Miami and San Diego have actually gone the other direction. They've gotten a little worse under their new managers. The firing of Mike Redmond in Miami and Bud Black in San Diego has not produced positive results in those two cities. Sometimes you fire the manager hoping to shake things up. Counsell, of course, well respected here. You mentioned kind of having a history of being connected to this club even prior to playing here.
Served as a bat boy and then was in the front office as Wong swings and misses. 3-2. I think at times we lament the lack of offense the Cardinals have had in spurts this season, but the reality is it's across the board in Major League Baseball.
Absolutely.
Now the Cardinals pitching has been exceptional. As Wong hits it out of play. And you start thinking about postseason play, and we've seen a bunch of it now the last 10 to 15 years. It's kind of a war of attrition. You know, you grind through at bats, grind through games. If you can pitch, you have a chance to stay in games, get that key hit, and then maybe win.
Of all the numbers in the game of baseball, the ones that mean the most are wins and losses at the end of it.
3-2 pitch. Dodgers and Pirates tied up at 4-4. That's midway in the ninth. Marte, McCutchen, Ramirez coming up. Pirates have had a really tough schedule coming out of the break. Teams like Washington, now LA. And in terms of strength of schedule in the second half, for Central teams, they have the toughest. 3-2 pitch. Wong hits it the other way, and a liner that is caught. So Carpenter back to the bag at second. Council, Jennings, Murphy, McCannon. And those are the new managers in place. Renicky, Mike Redmond, Bud Black, Ryan Sandberg. All were fired or either resigned.
So again, Milwaukee and the Phillies tad better since those moves. And San Diego and Miami a tad worse.
Here's Johnny Peralta, hitless tonight. The Pirates will come to St. Louis after the off day on Monday. And then after that, they head to New York, and they'll see that great pitching of the Mets. The Mets would be a scary team to face in postseason play.
100% agree with that. DeGrom, Syndergaard, Harvey. That's enough.
And a much better lineup. Added a few pieces here and there, the biggest being Cespedes. I was watching their games over the weekend against Washington, and Citi Field was alive and electric. Kind of took you back to those days at Shea. You were part of those great series in the 80s, and then you think back in the 2006 playoffs, how,
yeah.
I mean, the place literally would shake.
Well, you think of the Mets in the playoffs, you think of Endy Chavez's catch.
Oh.
Yachty's home run. In the 80s, you think of course, the Bill Buckner play, Mookie Wilson, Ray Knight,
Cardinals perspective,
Carter.
I think of Terry Pendleton's home run.
Cedeno's home run.
Yeah. 1-2 pitch. And Peralta strikes out. The players get into it back then as much as the fans did.
Oh, yeah. The rivalry. In fact, the rivalry with the Cubs was not understood by the players in the 80s. That was kind of a regional thing, but because the real rivalry on the field was the Mets. At the time, the Cardinals were in the Eastern Division, so played the Mets a lot, and both teams were 1-2 a few years in a row, and that makes the rivalry more intense. And a lot of chirping going on in both dugouts, and yes, there was definitely some energy going on when the Mets and Cardinals went at it.
Here's Hayward, 2-hit night. I've always said this too, and I don't care what sport you're talking about, even individual sports like golf, you have to have a great villain. Give me a good villain, and I'll show you a great rivalry. And they had some villains. The Cardinals had some villains going the other way. Hyundai pitch, Arsenault on the left-hander, Neil Kotz. Heck, I didn't even like Tim Tuffle. He's one of the nicest guys in the game.
I like Tim Tuffle, but not at 7:30.
No, sir. But they had Strawberry, Gooden, obviously Hernandez history in St. Louis.
I loved all those guys till 7:30.
Right.
Lenny Dykstra, Wally Backman,
Howard Johnson. 2-1 pitch. Popped foul and out of play. A nice play made by a Cardinal fan to our left. This is the booth where I made a dramatic catch a couple of years ago. I just want to point that out.
Do you have that somewhere? Do you have a clip of that so you can prove it?
My hand still has the stitching. Bud Selig's autograph is in the palm of my hand. Segura gloves and makes the play. Cardinals strand a runner. Scoreless frame for Neil Kotz. Beautiful night here in Milwaukee. 6-zip St. Louis. 6-0 as we move to the bottom of the 6th here at Miller Park in Milwaukee. Bottom of 7, excuse me. 6-run lead for the St. Louis Cardinals. And along with Jim Hayes and Rick Horton, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Carlos Villanueva is our Chevy call to the pen. Appearance number 27 for Carlos, and that pitch is pulled foul. Watch out. Villanueva has done a really nice job for the Cardinals.
Like everybody else in the bullpen has. He's been a part of it. Been the guy that's more apt to go multiple innings. In fact, I think that's part of the reason why Tyler Lyons has been kind of called up to augment the bullpen in terms of guys that can go 2 or 3 innings if necessary. There's a look at Tyler, but Villanueva had become the only guy that really fit that mold when you bring in Cishek and a Broxton 1-inning pitchers. And it's not a bad idea to have 3 lefties in your pen, too.
Kyle Loesch, who was scheduled to start tonight, getting loose in the pen for Milwaukee. I've always liked Lyons out of the pen. I don't know if you agree with that, but I think he's got a high upside.
I'm not sure how many days ago you and I talked about that on the air, that could be his future. But what we saw from Tyler Lyons was his ability to get left-handers out. Plus he can go longer. Plus he's got something for right-handed hitters. He's got that change-up and the sinker, and you could kind of see him being a left-handed Seth Maness that could go a couple innings if you need him to. I think the real question would be with Lyons, and I'm not sure the Cardinals are giving up on him as a starter, but I think the question could be, would his arm bounce back the way Maness's does? But I would like him as kind of a set-up left-handed reliever guy long term. I think that could be a good job for him.
1 ball and 2 strikes. Top of the lineup, Scooter Gennett.
And maybe said more directly, and Tyler Lyons may or may not agree with this, but if you're a starter and you're kind of an up and down 5th, 6th, 7th starter up and down from AAA or big leagues, or you're a solid second left-hander out of a bullpen, which job would you rather have?
Yeah. Two balls, 2 strikes, and a ground ball. Villanueva certainly does not have overpowering stuff, but that at bat is a good example of keeping guys out in front, guessing in and out. Fun to watch.
Looked like Gennett was going to be easy to keep out in front because he was jumping at everything anyway, but you just throw it slower then. I mean, if he's way out in front, you just keep doing that. And Gennett really did not make an adjustment there. He did not realize that he's not hitting against Lance Lynn anymore. He's got to kind of dial it back a little bit. Maybe even think going the other way, or think driving the ball up the middle. He was just kind of front foot hitting.
Lance Lynn, 6 innings tonight. 6 hits, no runs, struck out 7, walked 4. That pitch taken high. Last run given up by the Cardinals was Wednesday in the 2nd inning with 2 outs. Thursday's shutout. Tonight, currently a shutout. Lucroy at the plate, 1 ball, 2 strikes. Grounded out twice and also walked.
Kershaw and Greinke keep doing it individually out in L.A. I just as soon do it collectively.
And that's what's happening here. Center field, Randall Grichuk. 2 down. Brings in Ryan Braun, who has singled, hit into a double play, and also struck out.
I'm not going to say that Carlos Villanueva is the most respected guy in the Cardinals clubhouse, but I will say I don't think there's anybody more respected than him. I think you get into danger thinking about best and all that, and that's the Tony La Russa tied for first business. But I really do believe that players have tremendous respect to a man for Carlos Villanueva.
A lot of what he's done behind the scenes with the Players Association, helping those players that are trying to get adjusted to the American way of life. In baseball, they don't speak English. Look at that. 68 miles an hour. 0-2 the count.
It's the kind of swing, if you're Ryan Braun, that will make you head to the cell phone after the game and get a chiropractic appointment. Something just doesn't feel right.
Here's the 0-2. Waves at that pitch. He went from 68 to 84 and a 1-2-3 inning for Villanueva. Sports update. All right, Pat, thanks. Looking forward to all the highlights, stats, and a look back at this game coming up on the postgame show. Top of 8 rolls in, 6-0 St. Louis. Kyle Loesch was 13-9 a year ago. Now working out of the pen, our Chevy Cole to the pen. Mentioned his ERA here at home is over 8. And last year, he was the victim of 7 blown saves. So it could have been a much different record for Loesch. September 8th of 2009, last time that he worked out of the pen. And that was with the Cardinals, ironically enough, against the Milwaukee Brewers.
You know, Kyle's at a point in his career where the only way to kind of get things right is to pitch. And, you know, does he want to be a reliever? No. Does he understand it? I'm sure deep down he does, why they had to take him out of the rotation. But if he wants to keep his career going forward, and he has said that he's tried everything to get right, and he doesn't have to kind of look back over his shoulder and say that I haven't made the effort. But part of that effort is coming out of the pen, and maybe you find something. Maybe you find a a release point. Maybe you find a different break on your slider.
Coming into this year, 142 career wins for Kyle Lohse. Been a nice major league pitcher.
Yes, he has.
Broke in with Minnesota back in 2001. A number of years with the Twins. 2 years with Cincinnati. Was with the Phillies for a brief time. 13 games he started in. Then was off to St. Louis, and now in year 3 with Milwaukee. That's pulled foul. Originally selected by the Chicago Cubs, 29th round back in 1996. Then Minnesota picked him up. He was part of the Rick Aguilera deal. Richik pulls it foul. You got to come up with that. You got the glove on. You got a good look at it. Got to come up with that play.
Shows how hard it is. Poor guy.
Flashbacks to fantasy camp.
You are all over him.
Got to come up with it, Rick.
So it's not about effort?
It's the big leagues. You do or you don't.
Okay, Tony La Russa.
I'll tell you how I feel, how my day's been in about 45 minutes.
Right.
How you doing, Tony? Ask me at 10:30. All right, Tony, have a great night.
How hard it was to not repeatedly ask him how he's doing. You see somebody, and the first time you see him in a day, everybody says that. How you doing?
What's up? How you doing?
And he would chastise you if you said that. He'd say, I don't know. I'll tell you when the game's over.
One time I tried a different way of doing it.
You did?
Yeah. Here's a 2-2. I went up to him. I said, I'm having a great day. How about you?
And?
I'll let you know at 10:30.
So
I tried to backdoor, you know. I tried a few other things too. This has popped up. I went up to him and I said, you know, before anything, I said, hey, Tony, I said, I went to the grocery store today. Actually took my kid to the park. Drove down here to the ballpark. What have you been up to today? And I thought, well, might maybe get him in there.
I'm having a good. You might get the answer.
I'm having a good day,
yeah.
right?
Did you ever try Spanish?
No.
¿Cómo estás, Tony?
He may have done it in Spanish because you got him off guard.
Too late.
Again, it's popped up. An 11 pitch at bat for Randall Grichuk.
You find yourself in games like this, Dan, as a Cardinal fan. You love your team, but is there some part of you that's rooting for Kyle Lohse?
Sure. I think anytime you see somebody that you've been around in this game a long time, and if they're struggling, and you would know this better than I mean, being a former player, yeah, you pull for him. It helps that it's 6-0 too, but
well, I think that's,
I know your point.
I think that's clear. And, you know, Skip Schumacher getting a pinch hit against the Cardinals. I mean, there's some part of you that says, well, it's good to see he's doing well. But when somebody's struggling as bad as Kyle Lohse, even if I don't like him, I feel bad for him and want him to kind of get it right, because it's a terrible feeling.
Line drive into right. That's a base hit. It's now Herrera who took over in right field.
One of my favorite stories is the day I was struggling, and I've told it before, but I gave up 2 hits to Terry Pendleton in the same inning, and he hit a rocket into the left center field gap. And he was standing at second base. All I could see was the top of his head. He was shaking his head. And after the game, I went up to him and I said, what were you thinking about when you were at second? I saw you shaking your head. He said, all I can tell you is I was sitting there thinking, I've never felt so bad about hitting a ball so hard in all my life.
Did you laugh? Or
I did. Oh, yeah. Oh, with Terry, because we're great friends. And I mean, he knew I was struggling, and part of you just feels for a guy that, you know, you've got to have a little empathy every once in a while.
Sure. 1 ball, 1 strike on Moss. I will say this. John Mozeliak and his staff have done an incredible job of saying goodbye to players when they're, in between. When you're thinking about, should I bring this guy back? That's pulled foul. I mean, Pujols is a great example, and Albert's having a great year. However, those two compensatory picks turned into Michael Wacha, and it turned into Stephen Piscotty, and he didn't pay Albert $250 million, and he paid others.
Right.
Kyle Loesch was 16-3 in his last year in St. Louis. He was good, really good.
Those are tough decisions, too.
But they have had a knack of making that tough choice, and for the most part, they've made the right choice.
Got to know when to fold it.
High fly ball into center as Moss hits it to the track again. Some interesting notes here. Way back when, September 8th of 2009, John Smoltz, the Hall of Famer, started for St. Louis that game. Villanueva, 3 innings pitched in relief for Milwaukee. Loesch, an inning out of the bullpen. Hoffman, a blown save. Second all-time in saves. And then Matt Holliday, a 2-run homer back in the 9th. That was his first year with St. Louis in 2009.
Wondering if that was Hoffman's last year when he was struggling to get to 500. Remember, he was blowing save after save, and they kind of had the big sign out in center field. He said, "Stop! I can't just leave it alone. Let it happen when it happens." What a terrific career he had.
Mariano Rivera, 652 saves. As it pertains to this game, K-Rod, Francisco Rodriguez, is now 8th all-time on the all-time saves list. He's converted 30 straight and 25 in a row this year.
There was question about whether or not the Brewers would re-sign him or not, even after a big year last year. It's like, well, maybe it's time to fold him with him and move on. But they decided last minute, both parties, as a free agent, to come back one more year, and he's done a nice job. Not even in their media guy anywhere. The guy had a big year for him. He's not even in there.
2 balls, 2 strikes on Stephen Piscotty. Doubled and scored back in the 5th. He is lined out, grounded out sharply. He's hit the ball hard 4 times tonight. 1 hit to show for it. We're midway through 8. Cardinals on top. It's 6-0.
Brought to you by Budweiser. Make a plan to make it home. And by Ford, the official cars and trucks of the St. Louis Cardinals. 6-0 St. Louis. Robin Yount statue outside the Brewers team store. Hall of Famer. Number 19 of Robin Yount, Bob Uecker, 50 years in baseball, and the manager of the Minnesota Twins, former Brewer Paul Molitor. There's Bob Uecker. One of our favorites. Classic baseball voice. Carlos Villanueva out for his second inning of work, facing Adam Lind, who fouls that first delivery off. It'll be Lind, Davis, and Shane Peterson, who's 3 for 3 here tonight in the bottom of the 8th. It's been all Cardinals so far. A 6-run 5th inning for St. Louis. The highlight, a Randall Grichuk 3-run home run, his 14th of the season.
Am I back on color like I was in Pittsburgh?
No, you can go ahead and do play-by-play. That was fun, though, I must say.
Back to you, Rick.
I remember.
Here's a 1-1 pitch. And a fly ball lifted into shallow right center. Hayward calls off Grichuk to make the play, and there's one out. Time for our T-Mobile photo of the night. Hashtag MWDataStrongFan. Some fans having a little fun, and the Cardinals having some fun tonight. Chance to go to 31 games above the 500 mark. You think when you bring up Tyler Lyons too, Rick, it's also, you know, you're looking at this with a third of the way to go to the finish line, that maybe you're cutting some of the innings potentially of Walker and Martinez.
Yeah, there's two ways to do that. You can spot start somebody and give them extra days. That's one way. Or you can turn them into 5 or 6 inning starters, maybe for a couple of turns through, and use more of a middle reliever piggyback system. And again, I think we're a long ways off from that. The Cardinals are just 6 games ahead of the Pirates, and there's plenty of wins they're going to have to get to that point. But about that quick pitch, those tricky veteran pitchers.
He's pulling out all the stops here tonight.
Nothing illegal about it. It's all about deception, making the guy's timing bad.
Baseball's playoff race starting to get into high gear. Doubleheader starting with the Dodgers taking on the Pirates. Then at 6, Cardinals battle the Brewers, and you can only see that game on Fox Sports 1. Rick has already rented the restaurant out for a viewing party here in Milwaukee. Villanueva with 2 strikeouts tonight in relief of Lance Lynn. Again, your kindness is incredible.
I'm blushing. What can I say?
The 2-1 is popped up. Shallow center. Villanueva, 2 scoreless innings. 6 up, 6 down. The Cardinals pitching just keeps on rolling along. The quick pitch on Davis, called 3rd strike. Looking forward to it. Here's Villanueva against Kyle Loesch, his second inning out of the pen. So Villanueva, a chance to go the final 3 innings.
Probably not all that interested right now in hitting, as his job is to get outs, and he's done a nice job of that. He's retired out all 6 batters that he's faced.
And the 2-2. Two pitches ago, a little too high. That one a little too low. And that one right down the middle.
Sounded like a line from Goldilocks and the 3 Bears.
You read that every night. 6 is a serious number. Get any size coffee, fountain, or frozen drink tomorrow for just 50 cents at your local On the Run. You earned it.
I just thought that's what you were shooting for. A little bit too high, a little bit too low. I thought that's where you were going.
This one was just right. Here's Pete Kozma. Ground ball in the hole. Segura. Wow, what a play. That kind of year offensively for Pete Kozma. That's a great play by Gene Segura.
Kozma had a pitch hit his last time up, almost got another one, and I thought he was going to get it because this is a tough play. That is an incredibly strong arm. That's just not throwing the ball across the diamond. That is a missile he threw. Kozma runs well, got a good jump out of the box. That's just a big time play there.
Here's Colton Wong with 2 outs.
Sometimes we forget, man. Those guys make things like that look easy. But I'm going to ask you, would you say there are less than 10 people on the planet that could have made that play? Maybe less than that?
I would say there might be some guys in the minor leagues that can make that play, but they can't hit at this level, okay. So you don't see them.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm talking about that good an arm, that good a range.
Yeah, I think you're right.
There's not many.
And that is just a tremendous play. 6-0 as we head to the bottom of the 9th. Reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. So Villanueva will try to go the final 3 innings. Pirates have just posted a victory, so the Cardinals win tonight, they'll stay 6 in front of Pittsburgh, and barring a comeback here by Milwaukee, lead at 5.5 currently, would be at 5 if Milwaukee would win this game. Cardinals would be the first team to 70 wins this year. 70 wins. On August 7th. Little flare down the right field line and foul. Segura's had a tough night.
See the swings for the Brewers against Carlos Villanueva. They just can't keep their hands back. They've got kind of this floating body, hands already kind of committed, flailing swing because they can't keep their weight on their back foot, which is where they generate power. You've got to have that as a firm base to generate power, and they just can't stay back. Often happens when hitters do that, Dan, is the hips will fly open too. Another way to lose their power. And then you've got kind of that, again, the flail swing the other way is all you've got left. Swinging with your hands or with your arm.
Here's a 1-2. It took the Cardinals till game number 128 last year to get to 70 wins. Tonight they're playing in game number 109. This would also be road win number 30. There's that quick pitch again. Villanueva's done an outstanding job here tonight. That's his 3rd strikeout.
Rough night for Segura. And we get asked a lot about the quick pitch. It's not an illegal thing for a pitcher to do. We've seen Adam Wainwright vary his deliveries, just to kind of give the hitter another thing to look at. You can quick pitch as long as the hitter's in the box. You don't have to go through your full motion. It's just part of the deception you're trying to present to the hitter.
Here's Herrera, and there's strike 1. There are 2 teams that have at least 30 wins on the road this year, one of them being the Chicago Cubs. Cubs are 31-24. The Texas Rangers 31-24 as well. That's it. One ball, 1 strike. This is what makes this game so great. You can have guys like Syndergaard and DeGrom that are coming out throwing consistently 98, 99 miles an hour. And Syndergaard was hitting in his previous start over the weekend, Sunday night, 8th inning, he was hitting 98. And you're watching a guy like Villanueva who's throwing a 68-mile-an-hour pitch to Ryan Braun. He's quick pitching. He's in. He's out. Look at that. That pitch at 80 miles an hour, a little sink to it. Different ways to get it done.
I think there's an artistry when somebody's doing it the way Villanueva's doing it.
The 2-2. Driven out to right field. Hayward is over. 2 down. That's 8 in a row set down by Carlos Villanueva. We turn to our player of the game, presented by Budweiser. Wasn't the sharpest we've seen him, but he gets the job done. That's 6 innings out of Lance Lynn, 6 hits, walked 4, no runs, 7 strikeouts.
Yeah, the 4 walks is where you say he wasn't as sharp and throwing 109 pitches in 6 innings, but honestly, you put up 6 zeros against a major league team, you're doing something right.
Little chopper left side. Cosma is there. Win number 70. 31 games above 500 go the St. Louis Cardinals.
St. Louis does everything right tonight. A 6-run 5th inning. Cardinal pitching continues to dominate. I would say it's time to give Derek Lilliquist a raise. They have been unbelievable this season, and this road trip, they just keep marching on.
Randall Grichuk, his 3-run blast, part of a 6-run inning.